and the loser goes home, gets their key crushed. A lot on the line here at eSports World Cup featuring Fortnite, and we are just about ready to get started. It's going to be Chalet, CTF to kick us off. It's going to be Falcon on the blue side. It's going to be the south side of your minimap, and Dragon on the north side from the red side.
Should be fun. Let's get this one going. Ooh, iTroll's just going to style a little bit.
I love the difference in skins. Finally, we're seeing a little bit of alternative skin action.
I love it. I'm here for it, but like you mentioned, it will be Falcons starting off on what has been technically the favored side so far in terms of how the performances have gone. iTroll going to be able to responsibly hold over towards this backside cave path, Teeny in his way, but it's Randu who actually finds first blood overall. Yapko still in position to hold on and make sure Dragons don't get too close, but a moment of pause here for Falcons before they make their first steps.
This is so patient as well. Teeny knows though that iTroll's going to be here, and you can see trying to use any utility to force him out and force him into an engagement, but then will back off, and there's a lot of respect being shown by both of these squads.
Teeny, I would say in particular, has really impressed me, not just here this weekend, but also kind of watching back his performance at DreamHack. Very patient for a 15-year-old that can absolutely run a train on you. iTroll just dancing in and out of the bubble. A lot of help from Dragons to be able to make sure that Falcons get completely pushed back. Chicho also in a bit of issue, and now all of a sudden Dragons have the numbers and they're already threatening the Falcon spawn.
Nice shots again from iTroll as he continues to march forward and closer to this flag. But now this is the problem. The spawners are in, so you need to be thinking about, are you just going to go in, go out? Will you get the kills? Tries to get it, but unfortunately unable to escape with that flag after the elimination. But there is the pass-off. Romero does pick it up.
But has to take a gunfight. Doesn't look particularly great for it. Chicho finds the elim and the return, no worries. But that's the issue with trying to push from this Dragon side, is those spawns for Falcons are so darn close. You can play defense, it feels like 2 to 3 times before maybe a pull gets out of reach. And now immediately on the counterattack, Tayson, the rest of Falcons trying to make a hit up top in towards this top hotel position, but Dragons, again, very responsibly hold on to their base and will essentially get a 50-50 battle here at mid.
I wonder if there is a thought process from Dragons knowing that they're arguably on the weaker side here. Do you play it a little bit more defensive? Do you play it a little bit more slow? Try and keep it even, try and keep it as close as possible before you then switch halves and you play from that favored side.
There definitely has been a level of that, I think, just across the board for a lot of our teams. So could be an element that you have to kind of execute on, is a little bit of extra patience. Don't get frustrated early. Randu in a spot to try to win over this tunnel position. Yapko on the opposite, trying to make his way forward as Teeny was tagged up just a touch. Chicho also playing over towards boxes. Randu still hiding in the corner. Dynamite out, flushes him to force the engagement to come through, and Chicho not really able to find a clean look, but a couple of shots will land, and Chicho pulls it off, and then a little bit of help over the top from Yapko. That's going to be 2 down for Dragons.
Chicho doing what you need to have your player do on that tunnel side if you are a Falcons team member here. If you can dominate that tunnel side, it gives you so much space on the rest of the map because it forces Dragons to try and play elsewhere, and they'll be reluctant to push down said tunnel.
iTroll, a little bit of trouble finishing off Yapko, but the elimination is there. Tayson also low. Good help from the spawner out of Chicho, but iTroll able to respond. Little turn and burn moment. No, doesn't quite finish off the final shots needed. But still, all things told, this has been a very good offensive half from Dragons, considering that we talk about it, they're on a side that you don't expect a lot of offensive success to come through.
And actually, Romero in a position to maybe pull this flag as well. So Falcons do need to be a little bit careful, but has been spotted out. So he's trying to be a sneaky beaver, as Puckett would say. But sadly, as you get seen, now it's going to have to be reconsidering how you want to push here. And Yapko showing why he's on marksman.
And that just is a teeter-totter. It immediately flips the tables to now Falcons in a position to possibly get forward. But maybe a moment of question if they actually finished off all 4 Dragons members on that last approach. Takes them a minute to kind of get into a good spot, but still Yapko will go right back over towards tunnel. And iTroll will, I'm sure, confirm this information. He was holding a third-person corner.
One more chance for a solid push from both teams, but it looks like Falcon to be more likely to have a push, but Dragons will continue to defend here, continue to watch these angles.
Ooh, Lua in a little bit of trouble here, taking a lot of damage from the incoming utility, but following up is him and Romero. Deals with that last Falcons push, and from a defensive standpoint, this has been very comfortable for Dragons. Not really many threats whatsoever, and as we switch perspective, iTroll's been able to find a pull, and he's got space to work with. No one else in the way here for Falcons. iTroll's going to get the first capture of the game.
out of nowhere, it
Oh.
seems, but there's going to be the chaining effect, making sure someone can pick up the flag if you go down. Now, will there be a counter-cap opportunity here for Team Falcons?
Well, Randu's still very healthy, but good patience from Yapko. Falcons still putting the threat underway. Deep shield bubble comes out. Chicho trying to find the pull, not able to fully grab it. Teeny, Yapko all fall, and Dragons a clean feed with 35 seconds still to fight for.
Dragons just plucking a flag when Team Falcons least expected it there, and now they look like they're going to go into the lead at the half here, despite being arguably on the weaker side. There's going to be maybe one last chance for a quick pull here if you're able to get there, but more than likely we're going to be heading into the second half at 1-0. And despite the fact that Yapko has had success with the sniper rifle, 7 kills to his name, 7 eliminations to his name, I am wondering whether you want to see maybe some slightly different positions going into the second half.
Yeah, and now more importantly is the fact that, like we talked about, you've got to find success on the more difficult side here if you're Dragons. Or pardon me, if you're Falcons, because Dragons really, again, controlled the tempo of the entirety of the first round. They had a lot of good offensive looks, a couple of pulls, one that kind of caught us by surprise. And even though there was a chance for Falcons to play kind of a counterattack, honestly, they didn't really get much of a setup besides that one moment where they're trying to defend their flag while also trying to get a pull of their own.
Well, one thing we know is that Team Falcons cannot afford to be the defensive side now here on red, and they're going to have to try and find a way to break through setups. Dragons can continue playing the way they were before, just sitting back a little bit, absorbing that pressure, and then trying to find a flank to get that flag.
Well, here we go. Quick action from Falcons over towards cave side. Yapko, dynamite in hand, tries to throw this in the corners. Here comes the double push through. Lua trying to challenge the bubble. Good EMP coming out, but it is Falcons for the first couple eliminations. Randu up top, being pressured, trying to track back to safety, but he actually puts himself more in a dangerous position. So early elimination for Falcons. Romero off spawn, also getting dealt with as Chicho's going to be able to help out for a pull. Now it's just how can they get it out of here?
It's great pressure from Team Falcons, but as you said, it's about escaping now with that flag. You need to be aware of where those spawns are going to be. It's going to be an attempted tunnel rush, and they will get down the tunnel here.
Yeah.
This could be a capture. Dragons, though, are sending players through the middle.
It's all about Romero. Can Romero find some sort of an angle here? It's all on Tayson to try to wrap this all the way around the back. Here comes the players of Dragons trying to get there in time. They don't find the elimination in time, though. Falcons able to score the point, but there's a counter cap immediately.
Dragons can now run this one. Potentially, Falcons need to be well aware of where that flag is being pulled, though. But iTroll has escaped the sightlines for now, and it looks like probably far enough to escape any sort of grenades, too. You can see the grenades coming in, but it looks like the counter cap will be successful.
It's been absolutely chef's kiss from Dragons to this point. Without question, they have had every response you want to see for a Team Falcon squad that at DreamHack, by the way, really dominated in CTF. But here for Dragons, it has been way far and above. And maybe even more still to come here, as Dragons are very aware that Falcons are on their front door knocking for another potential pull.
Yeah, Team Falcons holding one player over towards tunnel as everyone else decides to push through the house here. You can see Chico getting very aggressive and will find the elimination thanks to the bubble. And now they're trying to go cave side with this run.
And iTroll is right there on his heels, trying to cap right behind him. One shot lands, follow-up, gunfight! Not fully there for Chicho. Yapko trying to assist, but Romero, fully healthy, will slide forward, get the return, and now we're at 3 minutes left.
Well, it's opened things up, hasn't it? Switching sides whilst Falcons are behind because they are really trying to force the narrative of we can get back into this game, despite the fact we are having to play from arguably the worst side. But Chico off spawn is going to have the opportunity to take down yet another player. And now Falcons can just fall back a little bit to try and wait for their remaining spawners.
Careful here, though. If you're Dragons, those are 2 individual eliminations that come out, and that means a staggered setup here for the defense. They will be up and ready to fight, but it'll be very far back towards their spawn as there was some lingering action up top towards the tunnel position as well. Teeny waiting to see if Randu's going to make a move, while the rest of the squad for the Falcons try to play through mid, and it will be nothing but a feed in favor of the Dragons. Here comes Randu for the pull.
Yeah, Dragons now going to have a real opportunity to grab this flag and will be able to move quickly to fight together. The bubble just kind of blocks any sort of damage from behind, and already being in pull, I'm looking around at that minimap, and I'm not sure anyone's here to stop them.
Legitimately, this has been the best CTF sides that we've seen out of any team yet. Dragons have played perfectly. Timings have been great. Tayson could maybe have one more chance to try to contest, but he's not going to get here in time. And still, the Dragons are finding the elims they need to again play forward on the map.
Off the spawn as well, the engineer being able to help and put that bubble down just in case whilst capturing that flag, and it was enough to allow Dragons to now take a 3-1 lead. 1 minute 40 left on the clock, and Team Falcons need to start moving, but defensively, Dragons have been sound as iTroll again picks up another.
I mean, he's undeniable right now. Yapko at mid through crates, shut down. Another feed that all favors the Dragons. Holy cow, this has been impressive. Romero now looking to move forward. Tayson gets a read on the threat, drops over a clinger just to see if he could find some sort of a delay. But keep in mind, this is an infiltrator. He needs to find a way to start finding some pulls. He needs to find it fast.
I like this aggression, though, from Dragons, knowing that Falcons really have to push themselves forward. If Dragons just take the fight to them, they almost eliminate the possibility of there being back-to-back caps because there just won't be enough time here for Team Falcons.
Well, Falcons are making their move. You see iTroll, he is just going to crouch walk his way to another pull. And this may guarantee it right here. He doesn't even need to capture it. He just needs to stay alive and stop Falcons from being able to score. More than that, iTroll still shuts down Yapko, who had no choice but to force some sort of a contest. Falcons get the pull, but they don't have the ability to score here with iTroll still holding onto their flag.
Need to find iTroll, need to get that return, and then need to also be in a position to get another flag pulled ASAP. Is there anyone in a position? Teeny trying to make a move to maybe get a grab on this one, but you can already see Dragons setting up defensively.
Teeny will drop. Chicho following up, also shut down. 20 seconds left to fight for. Yapko trying to do it himself. Nothing there. Tayson has to force a square peg into the round hole, and it is done. You can see the Dragons start to look left to right with smiles and fist bumps going awry as Dragons will strike first here in this final qualifier of Group A.
Well, their first time on the main stage and their first map going in favor of the Dragons, despite it being a home crowd here in Riyadh. Team Falcons not able to get one on the board in the initial CTF map, and we have to give credit to Dragons with how they played initially that first half.
Yes.
To be able to take a lead in arguably a worse side of the map, but then the counter cap was massive, judging off the aggression that we saw from Team Falcons. Dragons didn't even get phased by it.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is, and it's hard to say, but it feels like Dragons are doing a really good job of understanding when they have numbers in their favor and finding ways to push quickly when they have those advantages. Don't allow Falcons a chance to get themselves reset up. We get a couple of good elims at mid-map, push hard through that position, get forward, force Falcons to have to play a very passive defense, and the utility usage behind that, I think, was really efficient for Dragons to get the pulls, especially, like you mentioned, from the weaker side of the map.
It was also something I noticed was, again, there was always a player from Dragons that was prepared to go on the flank and go for a flag pull if things weren't going correctly or something they would see correctly in the middle of map or on their side, just to make Team Falcons turn around and say, okay, well, we have to be aware of who could be behind us. Suddenly they then get nervous, their attention is turned, and it just allows for a little bit of a pitch to happen. And Dragons, I think they'll be delighted with finding a victory here.
And I think the other important thing, and we're actually seeing this a lot in the replay package, how many individual 1v1s on the exterior routes went the way of the Dragons? Because if that goes the opposite direction, you know, shoes on the other foot. Now, Falcons have some good map control, but this 1v1 with iTroll is just like, dude, he had no business winning that. A 2v1 situation, he still finds an elimination to slow down Falcons considerably on these approaches.
But how many times do we find ourselves having that conversation here in this mode, right? Yeah. Those 1v1s are huge, and even if you have the strategy, even if you have the tactics, sometimes just that individual skill can be what sets you apart. But judging by the accolades from Team Falcons and what they've been able to achieve, not only in this mode, but in also FNCS, I am surprised that we are seeing this, and I think they're going to have to step their game up going into map 2.
Don't sleep on Argentina. That's all we've learned to this point. I'm Shift, that's Gasket. And you guys had some, predictions for us. I think we know how this is going to go. And yeah, 78% predicting on towards the Falcons. So that means a good 3/4 of you, I'm sure, are shaking in your shoes just a touch, because Dragons come out looking impressive. And now we go to a hard point where, again, hard to say exactly kind of what the litmus test has been, because XSET has been the only common foe they've played, and it both was 250 to 244 for both these squads, losing to XSET when they played.
Who's been doing their homework more? That's the real question. Who was back at the hotel last night watching VOD, watching what XSET were able to do just to get that extra 6 points in Hardpoint over them? Because, as a reminder, both these teams were able to get 244 points against XSET, but just not quite enough to get over the finishing line. And now that could be a case of, you know, you're performing very well throughout the majority of the game, but you just can't get that last hold, and they need to work out why.
Here's the other thing, though, about that point is when you're dealing with a difference that is that slim, 6 points, you can find 6 points in a lot of places. You need to also understand that we can't make mountains out of molehills here, where it's just like that one mistake could have been 6 points, but was that the most critical error that we made during this map? Because you can point to a million different things over the course of a very long hard point. So is there going to be enough polish here in terms of just trusting what you came in with versus what you need to change to make sure you can stay toe-to-toe with a team like XI? Because honestly speaking, 250 to 244, we label that as it's anyone's game. You really can't go and change everything just because you lost one map in such a tight fair.
Well, one thing that maybe could benefit Falcons is it is going to be Panther hardpoint, and certainly with a lot of those 1v1 engagements, it was kind of jumping around walls, jumping over fences, and a lot of close battles that didn't really go in favor of Team Falcons. But now with it being Panther, being a more open map, a lot more open sightlines available, perhaps there's more teamwork that can come into it for Falcons, so they can try and stop those isolated fights and actually try and take some 2v1s just with angles instead.
With that in mind, I think anyone who's been following Team Falcons over the course of the last couple of months, you're probably thinking of one name, and that one name has to be Yapko. Can he get involved with this marksman rifle and put himself into a spot with the Reaper sniper rifle to just take over, stop rotations from happening, lock down hills right before setups start to come through for break attempts? Those are the things that I'm looking forward to see is, can Yapko just single-handedly be a force that Dragons cannot match? Because he's shown that he can do that before.
And remember, Yapko won Gamers 8 last year as well,
Good
right?
point.
He has been here, he's done that. It's not like it's unfamiliar. He's got so much experience under his belt. And you compare that on the other side, while Dragons, the analysts were saying, you know, this is their first time on the main stage at this event, right?
Yes.
Is there going to be that pressure? Are they going to fall because of the crowd? The answer is, doesn't seem like they care about any of that pressure. But now it's about taking this momentum and moving into map number 2, because we can very easily see Team Falcons get one on the board, realize that actually they are still the better team in their eyes. It's just a lot of these 1v1s they need to make sure they're getting on top of, because they didn't look like the players that we had seen at DreamHack. They didn't look like the players that we've seen historically, and maybe just a slow start here today.
No, it's very much so the case, and you got to remember, this is kind of the same situation that people are saying about Exceed, is like, the game had come out with these modifications, these modes so quickly towards DreamHack that some of the best individuals took over the event. Now all of a sudden you fast forward 2 months, you put $1 million up for grabs, and full 4-man squads are starting to figure out the modes and play them very efficiently. So here we go, as it always is, map 2, Hardpoint, Panther, the selection. And now it's just down to, will we see more of that blue side versus red side favor that Alex was talking about from Power earlier today?
Well, it is going to be Falcons on the red side, so maybe an advantage they desperately need going into this game, as Dragons are going to be playing from said blue side, which will be the south side of the map for the reference when you do see that mini-map, and Falcons will be playing from the northern side. And what we've been realizing and why we think that advantage is prevalent for the red side is because you get back-to-back hard points in 3 to 4, which just allows you to transition from one to another so seamlessly throughout the spawns that you can put up a lot of time on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I get that thought process in terms of like early days. You're going to be seeing, again, back-to-back hills on the same side as iTroll is vibing right now.
By name and by nature, really, isn't he? I love it.
By name and by nature, for sure. But at the same rate, like, I don't know how much I really value that argument, because you still get 2 hills essentially back-to-back from the other side as well. You just have P1 in the way. You still, I mean, you could play it from either side. I don't know. We'll see if that ends up being a major difference maker, as our Blue Alien and iTroll is ready to go here in the hot summer that is Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. A little focused fight over towards the top side of this Panther statue. Falcons able to come out 2 for 1. Final trade looking to come through, but Yapko gets shut down. Falcons just dealing with Tayson inside the hill for now.
Tayson has been able to gain a little bit of time there, though, and tries to get out of dodge as the approach, but the spawners will be there to help, and it's bubble versus bubble, and at the moment it is a full-on scrap in the middle of the map.
The commitment from Dragons on that, they knew exactly when the EMP was going to land. They were already making a move to try to find those final Falcons members, and it works out pretty decently for them. 21 is where it gets tallied up for Team Falcon. One more chance here for Tayson. Clean shots, trusting that Teeny can clean it up, and he will. iTroll up top also seen, and as he drops, Team Falcon's off to the races early.
Yeah, neither team able to get a solid setup at the moment. It's just very back and forth with trades in these eliminations. Falcons still hold the better half of these points, but we are going to now move to P2, and you can already see Dragons setting up ready for it.
And this is what Falcons do best on when they break from this hill. They throw Yapko up top. He's just going to jump peek, try to see if he can find any snipes. Everyone else will hit from the opposite angle. This is exactly what it does. It forces Randu off the high ground. Falcons still earning time here on the second hill. Chicho finishes off 1. Tayson and Teeny clean out the others. This has been flawless in terms of how you attack a P2.
And remember, this should be a hill favoring Dragons. They will be spawning over towards the blue side here. They will be very quickly pressuring Falcons, and they should be able to take them down eventually. But the time that's been gathered from Falcons to have a 42-point lead is a substantial one, because there's only 23 seconds left of this hard point, and Falcons have another chance to delay them here.
And all of this is because Yapko continues just to stay alive up top on the patio. He finally gets flushed out. That's enough for Dragons to comfortably get the scrap time and start making some motion across the map. We go through the pool and over towards the Lambo. It's still Falcons up about 20 points.
Falcons will situate themselves. It's going to be Teeny who's waiting at that Lambo, and it looks like Tayson's going to be there to join him as well. So there's going to be two players from Falcons taking the fight to try and delay Dragons, accepting that even if they die here, they're going to spawn quick enough to be able to help their teammates at this Q3.
Teeny, good prediction that Lua's playing up top, but doesn't make a difference. The shots are perfect from Lua. Now it's down to what the rest of the Falcons off spawn can do. Chicho, kind of the last line of defense here, able to drop his own bubble while he really sees a lot of low health pools in front. The only one that's really at full health is now Romero, who tries to take the fight to him. Gets pushed out of the bubble, though. Little boot back doesn't make a difference. Dragons come away with 2, and they've now broken the Lambo Hill.
It was a great slide, but again, Dragon just on point with their eliminations, and their individual skill is showing and shining through just when you need it, but it's still a 30-point lead roughly here for Team Falcons, who off spawn are relentless with their aggression onto the Dragons.
Yeah, Chicho has been saving a lot of these kind of second rebreaks coming through, and now they have a chance, like we talked about, to go from 2 to 3, now possibly to another favorite hill at 4 as we jump into a Team Falcons. Listen in.
Push me in front. Wait. I'm on. Okay, good. Two gate. Fight left, okay? 3, 2, 1. Chill. Stay on side. That two. Nice. Hold him. He's pushing me. Can we push the guy in bubble? 3, 2, 1. I'm dead. Nice. Go on. Dead. Nice. One gate. He's right side gate. Yeah, I'm holding him. 6 to 8, 9 to dead. I'm going to one hardpoint, fucking the mid. Oh, EMP, look. I'm pushing him. Gate. One time on that. That's good. Like, one touches, don't pick him. Left side gate. You can die if you want. Left side gate. Yeah, I'll die. I can bubble. Yeah, we need to reset now. I'm dead. You die fast. Two. One slasher, I think one slasher on me. We need to go from mid then, no? We need to bubble early, Chicho, to clear the mental up. Okay. I'm coming. Yeah, come with you. Yeah, I think he's here, maybe. No, maybe. Below you, right? Yeah, he's under. He's mental up and one close.
Great moments from Team Falcons. I think most importantly, they're calming out. Hey, push the bubble. Hey, let's 3, 2, 1, hit this together. Teamwork seems to be completely ironed out as they enjoy about double the points of Dragons, but now we get to P5 where this is Dragons' time to shine.
Saving the EMP, also accepting a death so you can get a recharge on that EMP, and the recharge on your shield seems to be a plan of action from Team Falcons right now, who still hold a big lead. But iTroll with the alien head is trying to do some damage over at P5, unable to do so though. Falcons will hold strong, and now they get a chance, just a little bit of respite before we see the push coming in.
Yeah, just a little bit, because Lua's already on the corner. Tayson has been, I'm sure, called out. Mutual information, though, is both will take some shots. EMP does hand on the Lua. Randu dealt with up top, and now all of a sudden it's Falcons, one by one. They're fighting every single elim. That has been a flawless attacking hill from Falcons, who are now once again up about double the points, heading into P1 first.
This is looking more like the Team Falcons that we would expect, as Chicho is going to be now waiting in that next hill as well. Randu can't get up with a double, and Chicho now has to try and hold in a 1 versus 2, but playing around the circle perfectly to avoid those sidelines.
He's also got help on that high ground position, like you said. The fight from Falcons has been fully focused on that topside Panther statue. Bubbled down. Dragons not able to utilize that as a chance to contest, as now all of a sudden Falcons have a chance to get over the 200-point mark, and Dragons have been empty in the last 4 hills back to back.
Romero has hit a few shots so far in this series to really allow Dragons to get back into the game just when you think they are down and out, so maybe if that initial shot might be enough for them to just get a little bit of scrappy time here on this one and then start to think about the next hill.
Yeah, they need this scrap time badly, though. I mean, this is all very important score time from the side of Dragons. Impressive quick shot comes through. Follow-up fight from Yapko, not going to work out. So Dragons will get the majority of the scrap, plus have a decent zone here as they try to wrap back over towards P2, which will again be one of their favorite hills that they need to get essentially 45 plus on.
And they can do it. We've seen them have strongholds previously, if it's not just yesterday when they were competing against XF, finding those 244 points. So it's going to be Lua who holds it originally, but someone else is probably going to have to back him up. Romero tries, but he's going to fall as well.
The Falcons just have this hard point figured out in terms of how you attack it. You bubble one side, you get players up top on the patio, and then you just naturally pinch it. But this time it doesn't work out nearly as cleanly. I think a lot of that is because Yapko doesn't actually get up to that position that Teeny's currently at. He's instead watching over towards mid. There's just not a lot of angles here, so the first 30 seconds is good. Tayson, though, kicks us off with the next elimination, trying to get this re-break in.
Well, 14 Falcons is just about trying to delay Dragons eSports here. Don't give them too much time in one of their favorite hills and get them on the respawn. And now Team Falcons will break towards the end here, which is going to be perfect for them because they can already start to think about that rotation. But have just noticed Dragons have moved very early here to P3.
Yeah.
Randu's going to be in position already.
And you have Romero doing a really nice job in the middle of the map. He stopped a lot of the exits from the Falcons. The problem here is you don't have to just be perfect on a hard point that you're not going to spawn near. You got to do it again. 216 to 150. You got to be able to go from 3 to 4 cleanly. It all starts with these opening eliminations, which the Dragons are good for the majority of. Tayson finding one, Yapko trying to join in, but Randu has stayed nice and healthy inside the hill.
Randu's done so well considering he moved so early and now does have support from the rest of the team, but now he goes down. This is a great push from Falcons. Utility perfect, but at the same time, you've got to make sure the damage is done from the weapons.
And Lua just not able to find the rest of the reinforcements from the Falcons, who now get to about the 225 mark. Tayson sliding forward, only able to find one. Itrol has to make a play. Yapko getting isolated, nowhere to run for him. Lua from the front, trying to take care of Teeny, who's on low health. Chicho also surprised by Itrol, who somehow doesn't finish off Teeny. Holy smokes, how about the play from Teeny? Falcons looking decent for the scrap, but more importantly, they're already at new.
Yep, Falcons going to move over to P4, and it should be a comfortable position from here because they're going to have the spawns, and they only need 8 more seconds here. One last push, perhaps, for Dragons.
Romero able to find one from the front. Has to jump on in to contest this. Again, the Falcons spawning so darn close. Tayson trying to stop the rotation in, but Romero will be there to contest. Help from Itrol. Early bubble is in. This would be a Herculean effort, though, if Dragons were able to win out all of these gunfights and still stay alive. Not going to happen. 250, 187. Falcons clean in the hard point.
That's more like the Team Falcons we were expecting here at this tournament. They looked far more comfortable in their engagements, and again, I don't know if it's down to the fact it was Panther, it was a little bit more open, or maybe it was just a couple of nerves in front of that home crowd, because even though we said on the flip side for Dragons, going up against a home crowd is difficult, playing in front of a home crowd is also very tough.
Yeah, a lot of expectations. You feel like you owe it to the fans to put together a good performance, and may have been a little bit of a slow start in map number 1, but no hesitation here. And I think a lot of it is not only did Falcons do a great job on their own hills and the first rotation, they actually went 50-50 with Team Dragons on some of the Dragons' favorite hills in that first set as well. So the gap just too big to overcome. I'm really thinking of 4 to 5 to 1 to 2 again. Falcons so clean on breaking those very difficult hard points to get into.
Glad we got to go into a listening as well and see how they do communicate their EMP usage. And one of the big things, it's okay to die. I think that is such an important thing to note here, because I think naturally if you play a game like this, you think you have to survive. You think you want to go into the next fight, but you could be only on health with no shields going into the next one. Instead, you could get aggressive, do damage to the opposition, take the death, and then you come back with shields almost instantly.
And I think the thing was, during that comm, it was right before we went back to a Falcons hill. So they had the opportunity to get themselves fully reset with utility, with health pools for a hard point that you're looking to really soak up. So really clean stuff, and it's really, I think, fun to be able to hear the players not just know that, but cognitively call that to your teammates to reaffirm that, hey, this is a moment where we can't afford to get aggressive because there's really not much risk involved with it.
And especially getting the reset on the EMP as well. Just so much of this utility is important. As we look back at some of the highlights, there were some big shots hit with the sniper rifle that did swing things in favor of either team when it did happen. I think there is a lot of responsibility that goes on to the marksman, in my opinion.
Agreed.
They can be game changers, and when they have quiet games, it sometimes is difficult for your squad to find that momentum without those headshots that not only can shift things in your favor because of having an extra player on the map, but they're deleted so fast. The shield advantage that you have off the back of it is massive.
Yeah, and I think we kind of saw that represented by both of the scopes in this map. I mean, the first T2 break for Falcons, it was Yapko up top, able to chew away at some of the defensive rotators that are coming off the favorite spawn. We kind of saw it there just a moment ago, Romero mid-map, stopping the rotation for Falcons in the same way. So it's really interesting to see not just how good these guys are, but more importantly, how they could be difference makers by putting yourself in the exact right spot to allow your team more freedom on rotation.
I love watching the POV of people within bubbles waiting to be EMP'd, and they're like, just go for it, bro. I'm locked in. I'm ready to take you down. And you can never assume you are safe when you are within a bubble. And I love the EMP versus bubble meta that we have because of the classes that are available to us.
Absolutely the case. So now we go into Keeper. You want to talk about, again, meta compositions. We've already talked about it quite a bit here in the first 2 days, and we expect that both of these two squads will be able to show us a lot in terms of, are we running a marksman? Are we running an infiltrator? Are we running an assault? Like, there is variability allowed based on how you want to approach Keeper as a game mode. So we'll see what will happen here. I expect that we'll get at least one sniper, but if I remember right, Falcons didn't run Yapko on a marksman class the first time we watched them play versus Zeta Division. They were putting him on the engineer, I think, and then switching Chicho over to infiltrator, so that way they get that extra speed and movement, and then Yapko can also be more integrally involved in the gunfights that they find.
Yeah, some teams have preferred having that engineer on one of your players who you trust to get in the face of your opponents just because of the advantage you have with that SMG and how powerful it can be in some of those fights with the burst. But we'll have to see where the compositions go for these two teams, and also what kind of strategy do you want to employ, because both of them got absolutely hammered by Xset. Xset play this probably the best out of any team we've seen so far in this tournament, and how much have you learned of it? We all talk about this basement setup, and yes, there is alternatives, but the basement setup is clearly the best if you can make it work. However, if you are not successful with a basement setup, you need to be thinking how you can rotate as a unit, as a team, away from spawners and towards your own.
Ready for my hot take, Dan?
I'm ready for your hot take.
I think when we start to get into playoffs, we start to see our top teams playing this map against each other, I think basement is going to be one of the worst options, because I feel like the teams that have dominated at basement are outslaying their opponents, but when the slaying is even, I don't think you can convincingly hold it as well as we've seen from some of our top teams at this point. That's my hot take.
Also, if you lose that basement setup against a team who also knows how to set up themselves, you're at risk of being put to the knife by a team that knows how to dominate, right? So I think you're right. We might see teams just having to think outside the box a little bit more and rotate as the initial push comes through.
Indeed, there's the first shots. Romero, the first one to drop. Falcons, with the numbers advantage, will be able to put a shield bubble down and then immediately grab the key and rotate out. Randu tried to find some sort of influence, but it's Yapko who is pulling the marksman out this time. So he's already connecting, looking clean for it, already up to 2 eliminations, and Falcons will get past the early mark of just 10 points.
Chicho was able to escape very quickly with that key, but I like having Yapko on the marksman. I think that with how he plays and what influential player he can be with said weapon, get him involved and make sure he has the confidence inside him. Now, another person who has been confident and impressed me so far has been iTroll. The engagements he's had, the success he's had in those 1v1s has been incredible.
Well, Chicho here under a little bit of duress, as Lua will find the elimination, and with that likely also collect the key for the first points here for Dragon eSports. Teeny in trouble on the boat through mid. Yapko trying to keep him safe, but there are more than just a couple of Dragon members that are here. 2 eliminations immediately on the bounce back for Dragons. Romero finds his second. Tayson does get a trade, but Lua is out, and he is going to be playing this over a little bit closer towards the cliff side.
Yeah, Lua was starting to move a little bit further towards the cliff, as you said, but now Yapko is going to have that key in his hands, or on his back, should I say. Now, I like the marksman with the key. I've mentioned this a few times because I think that having the sniper rifle with someone who can hit those shots can make such a huge difference. We'll have to see if Falcons can hold on to it here.
Chicho up through mid doors, has an idea of where the Dragons are playing from, but does not get here in time to save Yapko. More importantly, Lua also finds a follow-up. Good nades from Tayson. Teeny right here to try to contest, but Dragons will slip away with the key, at least for now.
Honestly, looked like Teeny was trying to zone members of Dragons there, trying to force them back into his teammates, but in the end they realized he was on his own and they could isolate that fight, and Dragons will continue to score.
Buster Klinger does force everyone into the interior. Dragons deal with the pressure pretty nicely, though, and now you've got all 4 members starting to rotate through mid, but the shield does get destroyed. Another Klinger comes through, lots of damage. Lua drops, key on the ground for the time being.
But I like them moving as a unit, but you are very vulnerable to grenades because of it, so you have to be careful and well aware of which angles you are going to be facing, as now Yapko will also fall, Romero gets traded out, and we will still see Falcons continue to score.
Tayson around the backside of this, does put down a little bit of a martyrdom nade, but does not find too much damage onto iTroll. So off the respawn, Dragons able to reinforce the middle of the map quicker. They're able to collect the key, and now all of a sudden we're just down 13 points, and Randu is making the rotation up in towards the tower area of the map.
He's off. And sadly, no one can catch him at the moment. Or as I say that, someone does catch him, but Randu was more than prepared for it, but he's got to go up against Chicho as well.
Chicho taking a lot of damage. Whoa, what a win from Randu. Are you kidding me? And Tini, who tried to pinch, is there a little bit too late on the timing. That's going to be enough for Randu to be able to get himself back to fighting form. He also drops the key to a faster ally, and Falcons are getting pulled apart one by one. Dragons now starting to rotate back up through mid to look for another place to fight.
What started very positive for Team Falcons is slowly been chipped away, and now Dragons gaining a bit of a lead here, and that is because they've been playing together so successfully, having each other's backs, baiting, switching, and just running around in pairs for the most part, but also the key holder recognizing when they have to get out of dodge.
Problem is, this was maybe a little bit too cute from Dragons, trying to get back up towards basement. They get caught in this rotation. The Team Falcons are punishing them on this roto. Nice shots from Randu. Keeps things in fighting form. We're at 99 to 70 as we jump into a Dragons eSports. Listen in.
Corre. Voy para CT.
Una vía. Me mató. Para torre, cerca, cuidado. Una vía, mueve. No das. Mate uno.
No cae el tiro.
Mate.
Estoy yendo con barra, nos quedamos acá. 3 segundos más y ya no llegan. Ahí atrás, Random, por atrás. Me puse ahí. Ya no llegan, GG. Bien juego, loco. Ya no llegan, nice.
Ay. Nice. Total, ¿no? No festeja.
Ahí en allá.
Well, comms got a little quiet there at the end because Dragons have done enough to secure round number 1. Not mathematically possible for the Falcons to get back to the 130 total points that Dragons put together. And again, they found a lot of success rotating in and out of mid, back over towards tower side.
Yeah, I really like what we saw from Dragons in this initial round, and they moved so successfully together. They seem to have a very good plan on the fly. Whenever they noticed where the Falcons spawned were, they just said, okay, we turn around. Or if they were restricted a little bit with their positioning, they just said, okay, let's take the fight here and now, and they weren't afraid to kind of lose a player, respawn, and then re-engage.
Really good stuff, moving across the map for Dragons very efficiently. Small moment there at the end that I started to sweat a little bit because Yapko was single-handedly destroying everybody, but again, the math just was not favoring Falcons for the bounce back. So now we get back into round number 2. Again, if you're joining us late, it takes 3 total rounds if we need it. First to 2 wins. So Dragons a chance to put us into a map 4 very quickly as they get a very aggressive shield bubble down. They get the key and immediately get out with eliminations from Lua. Tayson trying to force the fight. And how about iTroll? All 4 down. Dragons once again dominating early.
An explosive start from Dragons, and already they're re-engaging our Team Falcons, but maybe iTroll just over-challenging ever so slightly. But he's going to respawn so fast, he probably won't even care. Get back to the rest of the team as more members from Falcons will fall. And it's again Lua and Romero working together to shut down those players.
The thing about it is, this is a off spawn for the Dragons. So Falcons did have the key for a moment, but Randu off screen finds himself a couple. That's 3 down. It's just Yapko who's left remaining, and that's going to be time for Dragons not just to get the key, they have a chance to pull this pretty far away from where the Falcons spawn is.
The Dragons get out of those spawning areas, though. That's the real question. They are still scoring. Falcons starting to hunt a little bit. Randu's taking a lot of damage. So has Romero, and now the key will be exchanged over to Team Falcons. We need to see something else from the Falcons players. They could go for a little bit of a tower setup here if they'd like to.
Well, even in this moment right here, it feels a little bit too congested where you've got so many Falcons members all kind of on top of one another. Look how much space Romero's able to find. Lua able to hit a bit of a pinch, and Tayson's just not here to help. So both of the aforementioned players in the Dragons find the quick elims. Now they've got the surround, and that's just not good separation of space from the side of Team Falcons.
Yeah, not taking that space, maybe just turtling up a little bit too much, and it just allows Dragons to surround them and pick and choose where and which angle they would like to take. So maybe Team Falcons need to learn from that previous defensive maneuver. As the Dragon eSports squad now, they are starting to gain quite a significant lead here.
Very much so the case. Romero in and out. He's got help with members nearby. But the threat from the Falcons coming from the high ground. Tayson almost turns and burns onto Randu, who's still fighting in the corner. Eventually dealt with by Yapko, and that's enough for Falcons to get more control of the key again.
So can we see more of a successful setup? Will they learn from that previous? Are we going to see them push out, take a little bit more space, maybe take the fight to Dragons, but iTroll is going to be in a position to also re-engage, but not going to be successful. Romero, though, constantly in that elimination feed.
Finally shut down. Tayson, very healthy, able to back away. Lua, he is on 28 already. He recovered by Dragons at that moment. Again, Falcons didn't have concentrated spawns, but they were in positions that felt like that they could help one another out pretty cleanly. But look at the teamwork. It's just every single time you start to see a Falcons push coming through, it's one member by themselves, and that may be enough as Yapko finds two. Now full reinforcements are here in the basement for Falcons to get some time.
Need more of that if you are a fan of Team Falcons. Yapko has to be hitting those headshots to be the difference maker for this squad. But now they do have basement set up. You are going to see the overcharging from the players. They are just going to try and push out, and that's going to allow things to open up for Dragons.
Yeah, this is just right on into the bubble, and Romero able to clean just about everything up. 3 in the feed for him, and this may be enough time for Dragons to put this game a little bit further out of reach.
1 minute and 43 left on the clock, so still plenty of time for Team Falcons as Tayson puts another on the board and gains the key as well. So now they can try and set up again, but it's not going to be a complete setup because there's already members of Dragons very close here.
Yeah, Randu up top, good read that you had TD coming out from behind. But still, the eliminations down low are looking pretty decent for the side of Team Falcons. It's going to be a 1v1. Tayson versus Romero. Opening shots are good for both players, but Tayson finds the win. iTroll able to follow up with the trade, and then help from up top allows Lua to at least gain some space for iTroll to get out of here. And that may be enough now as they start to get to 110 to 90. Pressure on for Falcons. They need to find a return right now.
I think this is intelligent from Dragons. Try and get this out of the basement because Falcons have seen more success as it's been there, as Chicho will shut down the last remaining player. And now suddenly Falcons do have an opportunity here over towards basement again to be setting up.
Dragons largely going to be hitting this from the middle of the map. Teeny on low HP, just trying to gain some sort of an exit path for Chicho if he needs it. On the corner. You also see Yapko on the outside, trying to get a read on where this Dragon's hit's coming from. He's able to hit the first snipe. Can't follow up off of it, though. Doesn't make a difference. The damage that's been dealt is significant, and there's now Team Falcons in the lead under 30 seconds to fight.
30 seconds for Dragons eSports to make a push, but all they need is one successful one, and it could be the round and the game going in their favor, whereas Falcons cannot afford to make a mistake here.
Oh, Teeny, not clean on this initial, but whoa, shuts down Randu on the slide through. Romero also drops. What a double from Teeny, and he's not done. Give him 3 as Falcons will take round number 2.
When you needed someone to step up, Teeny was the man to do it, and sometimes someone just needs to take the game by the scruff of the neck. Falcons had to fight their hardest to get back into that game. They wrestled back control. They finally got the basement setup they had desired, and it was just one final lockdown that got the job done.
What an individual moment from Teeny. I mean, he pops off for 3 immediately for the triple, but also had 2 at the end, so give him 5 in total. Right back into the game go Falcons, and a little bit of extra life injected into the live crowd here in Riyadh. Off the break-off. Falcons looking for early nade pressures that they've gotten a really solid read on what Dragons want to do in these breakoffs. Lots of damage had been tallied. Lewis still holding on. Has to deal with a couple of Falcons members though. And now it's just down to, can Randu get taken down? Yes, he will. Falcons will have the key control first.
I love that as well from Falcons. They know exactly where the Dragons are going to be pushing right at the start to try and grab that key, and they have the nades waiting for them. And even though they didn't do the initial damage, they were just more than happy to be there and be prepared. But I say that, Randu is getting a little bit randy, but not quite enough.
Follow up though, good. Lua able to follow for the trades, and that will be an immediate exchange of hands, at least for a small time. Chicho trying to make a desperate play, and whoa, almost turns onto iTroll. Yapko right there with them, but as they get shut down, Dragons should have key control here at Cliffside, and they do.
It's Falcons who got the initial score, but it's Falcons who now need to break. And that's the perfect way to do so. They get the initial elim, and now they can push it to 4 versus 3 here.
Chicho pinched by Lua. What same can be said to him is he had help from behind from Teeny. 3 straight elims from the side of Falcons, growing their lead, playing this thing just on the outside of the cliff. You've got iTroll nearby, but he's waiting for help. It's Romero and Lua who are on the way in.
But again, Falcons are kind of really squeezed in here, and Dragons are surrounding them right now.
Very well done, Teeny. Controlling this backside building. Works out nicely for a double. Also creates space for the key carrier to try to make a move, but he's not done. Lua around the back had collected the key for a moment, but so clean from Falcons with a lot of space now for Teeny just to hang out here.
This is a lot better from Team Falcons, and I bet the communication is on point. Let's jump into a listen and find out.
Do it. He's gonna go window. I'm gonna sneak in window. Yeah, wait.
One right.
Down jack.
I was low.
Yeah, let them push.
He's sneaking
Nice,
behind
nice,
you,
nice,
behind
nice.
you, Chicho. He's sneaking. I
Okay,
swear.
nice.
20 white, I'm dead.
Yeah, on me left.
Dead.
Nice grab.
Nice. 20 white in our spawn. He's pushing from our
Low,
spawn.
HP.
Come on, 9 white.
Nice, dead.
Dead.
I can get.
I'm dead. Take the ball.
Tyson, take the ball.
Take the ball.
Just wait
One,
there.
he's sneaking left. Oh, I'm on HP from our spawn. Kill him hard. One HP dead. Counter. I'm on back. I'm dead. Crack them. Crack.
Take that.
That's one.
Crack 1, 2.
Dead.
Just stay.
I got about spawn. I'm coming.
Not the most conventional place to hold the key, but wow, are they forcing Dragons into a bit of a blender here. EMP may finally exchange hands for the key as Dragons will come away with 2, and now it's just down to can they find an exit to start gaining some much needed time.
But even though Dragons were able to get those elims and get the key on their back, you heard just as we exited that listening, I've got God Spawn, I'm re-engaging. Falcons got the perfect spot for where they were able to get back into this fight and now take control once more to continuously score, and they're about to hit 100.
Map will kind of flip itself around just a touch here as Dragons will spawn mid. Falcons do get a bit of a bus spawn towards this backside at basement. Tough 1v1 here as Itrol was a little bit healthier than Yapko, able to find the first elim. Romero, team working out this backside staircase, but once again, a bit in the blender, or are they? How about Itrol and Randu? Cleaning out that back staircase, that's enough for the key to get back in the hands of the Dragons, and they do have all 4 members nearby.
And this could be good time for Dragons because Falcons spawned on the northeast and it didn't allow the rest of the Dragon squad to kind of pinch them because they also spawned further north, and it just allowed for a lot of fighting to be happening in the middle of the map. But Chicho will get that first pick and now will allow them to try and push in because it's going to be a 2 versus 4.
Yeah, Randu again, just equal to the task of these Falcons members pushing. He was in a 1v3, found 2, but Falcons actually spawned relatively close here. TD, Yapko in a spot to try to help out. Nade pressure already being established as Randu hits a bit of a pinch, and oh, the timing is flawless. Last 1v1, it comes through. Randu able to take down Tayson, and here we go. Dragons have a chance to tie.
Dragons have a chance here as well, and you can see they are scoring fast. Comeback mechanic was temporarily in place there, but now it's just going to be back to single-second ticking as there is only about 50 seconds left as well. There is still an opportunity for Dragons to win this one as they are retreating with this key.
Falcons are all pushing together. Randu in a corner trying to play it off cheeky, not going to work down. Lua trying to find some sort of a pinch. Itrol off spawn trying to help out, and here we go. Lua's pinch works out nicely. TD stuck inside of a bubble. Itrol challenging him. That's going to be enough for the shutdown. 105 to 110, and Romero's found himself a safe corner.
This is going to come right down to the wire as now Romero will tuck himself into a nook or cranny that he can find, and suddenly they take the lead, and Falcons need to find something. They are getting pinched right now by every member from Dragons.
Last moment, Randu on the infiltrator is just trying to get the time in the space, and it's over. There's no other option but to watch Romero dance his way to a map 3 victory, and Dragons continue to hold an edge in the series.
Team Falcons throw away quite a significant lead there. And now Dragon eSports find themselves just 1 map away from what would be a huge upset in this tournament, as they have the opportunity to crush the key of Team Falcons, who not only come into this tournament as one of the favorites for this game, but also, you look at the club championship in the overall of the eSports World Cup. Team Falcons right at that tippy top with multiple victories, so many points, and we could be seeing them exit here in the group stages. That is a concern.
And there's something about how the LATAM teams are approaching playing Keeper that just feels different than what we've seen from even the top teams out of North America and, of course, here from Europe. They're not just sticking around and playing inside a basement and just exchanging this, oh, you win it, now we win it, and we're just going to throw nades at each other and see who comes out on top. It's almost like a roll of the dice. Dragons just were not interested in that. Yeah, they had to take a couple of eliminations over through the backside inside the basement, but when they got good control of the key with good numbers, they were out of there trying to play around the outside of the map more so than trying to default to playing for the hodgepodge that is that basement battle.
Another question I have for you.
Yeah.
Did Falcons take too much of a lead? And this is going to be something I bring up constantly, right? Because the comeback mechanic is in place. When you are far enough behind, you will get extra points on the board. it happened. Dragons finally got control of the key.
Yeah.
They started to get the 2-second tick, and because of it, they would just be able to shift the momentum in their favor. I know it seems so wrong to drop that key and take control of the map just through presence of eliminations, but we've seen it happen now multiple times where the game is lost because of the comeback mechanic being a part of it.
Yeah, there is that element. I don't know how much I value that compared to plays like this from Randu. Like, he legitimately single-handedly broke the setup of Falcons, and off his next life in after he got traded, he single-handedly got the key back to allow the rest of Dragons just to run rampant, where Romero just becomes uncatchable at that point. So, brilliant stuff. I think the conversation is fair, but in the live moment of it, I think when you're that close to winning the map, I don't think you're going to see anyone make a call saying, hey, drop it, let's just play for kills, because there are still, I mean, moments like that can still happen to where you're still able to get back into the game quickly, regardless of the comeback mechanic or not.
I think they should. I think the conversation should be, let's drop it, play for elims, and if we do lose that initial engagement, it is not as detrimental because they are not going to be scoring as quickly. Scoring twice as fast is pretty insane. We will see how it develops as we get to the bigger and the better teams, but the fact that it's repeating now, we've had it a couple of times,
yeah,
it seems to be a concern for me, but I'm very impressed with what I've seen from Dragon so far.
Yes, absolutely the case. Regardless of the details and the finessing and the brand new game mode for a lot of these players, Dragons have an edge in the series, but while the players take a bit of a reprieve in a moment to kind of collect themselves before Map 4, we will do the same, but don't you go anywhere. Map 4 coming up between Team Falcons and Dragon eSports right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We have a good one here. Team Falcons currently finding themselves down as the #1 seed coming in after their championship at DreamHack Dallas.
My bad, I was just trying to look up to see why people keep doing this. I want to see someone drop the key.
I know it. This is Coach Gaskin for you guys. We don't have hats, but if we would, he'd wear many of them. So we find ourselves in this predicament of what does Falcons have to do besides dominate teams in Hardpoint to find some success here against good caliber opponents? Because Dragons eSports are battling right now.
I mean, Dragon eSports are one map away from really causing a stir in this tournament. And we've seen it happen a few times. Maybe teams that should have been performing a little bit better, suddenly lacking in certain places. And that is worrying times now for Team Falcons. But the good thing is they have been able to have a break to get a chance to reset, to discuss what might have been going wrong. And maybe another good thing is they do go over to a Panther CTF, where they did find success, of course, on Panther Hardpoint, and maybe it's a map that they're just a little bit better at.
Very fair. Let me know if you get a response to the DM in terms of, hey, are we dropping keys or what are we doing? But like you mentioned, it's going to be another mixed mash of playing possibly CTF and another Hardpoint. And if anything goes to show for the CTF that we had at map #1, Dragons have a really good handle on what we saw in the opener. That said, Falcons have done really well in Hardpoint overall. Again, they have the common opponent of both playing XSET, and the results were copy-pasted between them. but it just feels like in this head-to-head matchup, there may be an advantage for CTF for Dragons. Maybe the same could be said, though, for the Hardpoint and Team Falcons.
Well, I think something that we saw in the original Chalet CTF was that Dragons were a bit better at sending that player on a flank. Now, in a bigger map where these flanks are far more prevalent, I am wondering whether Falcons are going to be able to keep tabs on that, because if they do allow Dragons to consistently rotate in, grab a flag, get out, we might actually end up with a lot of flag standoffs, which we have seen quite often on Panther. And if we do have those flag standoffs, I mean, Dragons just seem to be playing better at the moment, so it's a little bit concerning. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. Those club championship rankings, they look good for Team Falcons, but they are on the brink of exiting this tournament and having their key crushed.
And I'm sure teams like Gaming Gladiators, who are in this particular competition, are really rooting for that. Same can be said for Team Liquid, who still have a number of players and other titles that are going to have a chance to earn more points for them. So yes, the lead is currently massive for Team Falcons, but with the ability to possibly win the tournament, you could find yourself in the rankings immediately, especially for, again, teams like Gaming Gladiators, who would be instantly happy to see Falcons drop out and have a chance to kind of close that gap in the club championship, let alone, of course, they want to see their Fortnite team win too. So, you know, kind of 2 for one, 2 for the other.
It is going to be a very exciting one, and of course that is the prize for any of these teams who do take away victory here at eSports World Cup featuring Fortnite. And not only do they get that trophy, but you also get to choose 3 of the crushed keys of your opponents to put in that trophy as well, which I think is such a nice personal touch to your own trophy. And who would you put in there? That's one of the real questions, because there has been a few rivalries from DreamHack, I would say, but there might even be some teams that got eliminated so early you say, well, screw it, we'll just think about someone else instead.
Here's the other fun part about this particular event, because the traditional Fortnite is either played like a duos or solos. There are a lot of players that have a duo that they play with at FNCS that they're not playing with here. So to like take your duo's key and throw that into the trophy would be pretty sick as well. So lots of interesting things to kind of come through. And also, while we have a moment here, before we load into our next map, looking over, Gaming Gladiators have defeated Power Esports 3-0. It's a 2-0 CTF, a 250, 198 Hardpoint, and a 2-1 Keeper. So Gaming Gladiators have punched their ticket into playoffs tomorrow already.
And I think that was expected, right? Gaming Gladiators touted as one of the favorites, arguably, like up there in the top 4. So if we didn't see them in the top 8, I would have been very surprised. A shame for Power after their valiant effort, and of course Alex on his birthday able to get through to this round against the Gaming Gladiators, but sadly they will bow out of the tournament. They will have their key crushed as well. But Gaming Gladiators, their key can be shined up a little bit because it is still glowing and still very much have an opportunity to go all the way in this tournament.
And I do need to point some extra attention to that Exceed versus Gaming Gladiators matchup. The only match that really we kind of saw deep dives up when it comes to getting to a Game 5. All 5 maps are tremendously tight, and I think that goes to show that that may be a reprisal battle for either a winner's final, maybe even a grand final down the road, depending on how the bracket shapes up, because Exceed looked great, but Gaming Gladiators were right there with them every step of the way. So we punch another tickets team into playoffs, and now it's just down to figuring out who from Group A will join the others that have already qualified, and it may be figured out here if Dragon Esports can find a way to take map 4 over this Team Falcons CTF.
Hey, suddenly you move from a best of 5 to a best of 7, and who knows what could happen if we were to have that available as well. So I'm interested to see what goes on and how far this one will traverse. But for now, we have to continue to focus on what has been a very interesting matchup between 2 teams who have been very competitive, but there's been a lot of highs and lows between these 2 squads. And at the moment, Dragons Esports hold the momentum as we go into Panther CTF.
And I think the thing about this map, again, after watching the Chalet in map number 1, is can Dragons continue to catch Falcons by surprise with the long routes that you already mentioned are available, because they found success doing that from the unfavored side of Chalet. So think about the chances and opportunities they may be able to create just by sheer openness of the map here in a map like Panther.
There's going to be Dragons playing from the south, and it's going to be Falcons playing from the north when the minimap does arrive. I'm curious, what do Falcons have left in the tank? Is there one last roll of the dice to stay within this tournament? Because expectations were that they would go quite deep into this tournament and be able to compete with some of the biggest and best squads. Remember, they were the winners of DreamHack coming into this tournament as well. So are they going to be able to prove why they are at this tournament?
Well, Dragons will be on the blue side. Red side will, of course, go to the side of Team Falcons. And it must just be like he loads in with a certain color of the team, and that's what skin he chooses? Because Hytrol's right back on the blue alien again.
I'm just saying, from a viewing perspective, if everyone was a blue alien, I would enjoy it. So, mad respect to iTroll, and as we said, by name, by nature, but at the moment, it's trolling for a good reason, because Dragons eSports are still ahead and have one map to go here.
That headshot hitbox has to be bigger, right? I mean, it's huge. Oh, but Dynamite well placed. Falcons have to give up the angle, Klinger to follow. So utility usage from Dragons seems to show priority and focus towards that high ground position. Even trades come through, and it will be Falcons with the final word, but Randu, oh, he was trying to sneak by. This time not going to find success, and Falcons will hold mid-map control.
Honestly, that would be the aim of the game for me if I was playing, is how do I get behind the opposition? Because if you can do it successfully, unnoticed, and of course you are probably going to have to crouch, because these players will have the audio visuals where they can see the footsteps when they're arriving, but you can avoid those with a little bit of crouching, but then you're very slow as well. And if you are out of the game for too long, it allows your team to be in a 3 versus 4, which is never going to be fun.
This is a great position for Dragons. They get 3 straight eliminations at mid, and now they're surrounding over towards where Falcons' flag will be. Yapko can really only challenge this by playing the heady on the staircase. So it has to be some creation, some way, somehow by Falcons. And Randu is just waiting as a chance may have just opened itself up to cap the flag.
A little flank down on that southwest side of the map, but iTroll was able to find him. It was good from iTroll. iTroll lost the 1v1, and then off spawn immediately went to search for Tayson very quickly to ensure that there wasn't a flank, as now Dragons continue to put the pressure here on Team Falcons.
Yeah, Randu in a little bit of trouble, will eventually be overwhelmed. The Dragons just could not get back in time to help them. iTroll playing the third-person corner. Good double chow comes through for Falcons, and they follow up with another Elam on Lua. So now for the first time, we got Falcons starting to control some tempo and pace through mid.
Yeah, they're taking a bit more of the map. They will gain control of some of the high ground available to them as well, but you can see Romero trying to catch out a shot and will find it onto Chicho. And now Dragons maybe can use that as a chance to push forward themselves.
Yapko, Lua in a bit of a battle, but assistance from Romero allows the advantage to go the way of Dragons. Teeny, nice shutdown, but again, look how quick the Dragons are to isolate, find the quick Elam, and now they're a little bit more off to the races. Chicho, oh, tag. A little bit of a leg shot comes through. He has to back off. Yapko holding on the Dynamite. That's well placed. Romero throws it back, though. Say, get that out of my face. I don't want it. Take one of your own here, Yapko.
Falcons are doing very well at holding these lanes here, not allowing Dragon to get past them. No flanks have been possible so far. In fact, it's actually been Falcons, the team, who have found flanks. Again, Tayson is behind enemy lines, but has backed off here. You can see on the minimap because he saw the spawns coming through from Dragons.
High ground control for Teeny. Randu finds the wrong end of business from Yapko. And now Falcons will find 3 straight eliminations, their best chance to possibly get this flag all the way back. Tayson still being held a touch, but Teeny will join him, and that should be enough comfort for Falcons to get the first score.
It's easy, it's clean, and it was a long wait for Falcons because they were under the cosh, to be honest, from Dragons eSports. But now Falcons can play and continue to play a little bit defensively, saying, all right, Dragons, we're going to force you to actually try and make a move here, well, and implement that strategy.
And here is that move. Tayson in the corner. Tough 1v1. Randu able to find it, but Yapko responds. Quick shot on the snipe. iTroll also seen, dealt with. Yapko really starting to heat up. What a quick snipe from Yapko. Now on 10 eliminations and single-handedly defends against the Dragons push.
And they can take mid-map yet again here, can Team Falcons. Even though off spawn, Dragons can take a little bit of presence on this southern side. They're going to have to take that fight, and Randu is the first to fall. So Tayson getting that damage. At least it will be traded out, but this is good. Falcons are okay with trades happening. As long as they have players up, it won't allow Dragons to get behind them.
Bubble down. Chicho possibly looking for the pull. That gets shut down. Nice shot from Romero. Has to hit the 1v1 versus Teeny. Pistol out, and Romero responds in kind. What an affair between these scopes. Both Romero and Yapko have been heroes, and that very well may have been a second pull for Falcons, but now instead, it's Dragons moving up the map.
Yeah, Dragons are getting aggressive. Lua is going to be behind with a chance to maybe pull a flag, but the spawn from Tayson is very close. Lua has to move quickly. Can there be maybe any sort of chain here? It's a great EMP coming through.
Yeah, iTroll just nowhere to go. And Yapko, who also found 2, is going to have the long route around the back. Romero there to meet him. 1v1 between the scopes, although there's a little bit of extra help coming through for Team Falcons as Chicho had gotten top mid control. And now Dragons need to find something Randu, clean opener here. Hold on a second. He can get it to a spot to counter pull. Maybe even meet Yapko on this rotation, but instead, Yapko hits a bit of a break, and that's going to be enough to at least force some sort of a counter play happening here at the last 12 seconds.
Yeah, 12 seconds. So if you are Dragons eSports here, you just want to disallow Falcons from being able to get a flag in, and even though it might be sent home, it's just going to be too late, and the timer will be up. So it's just 1-0 after the first round, and I think that Dragons will be pretty happy about that because it was very close, dangerously close, to being a 2-0 lead in favor of Team Falcons.
I mean, outside of the 1v1 from Randu, that legitimately was a 2-0 for Falcons. So another great hero moment. But Yapko's really starting to snap, isn't he? I mean, wow. The 3 he gets around that outside Panther statue, massive towards Falcons regaining the map. That leads to that last pull. Just unfortunately can't quite get it all the way home. So we swap the sides. What can Dragons do to get this thing back to a level game before we possibly consider overtime?
Falcons just look far better on Panther here, so much more comfortable. I wonder if that is a lot of more open space available for Yapko to be doing what he does best with this sniper rifle. He seems to know every single angle that can benefit his team at the moment. As Romero also trying to do the same on the flip side.
Because they both of them saw an elbow and a toe. It's all that they needed. Is now here comes all the follow-up action over through mid. Tayson trying to get forward into the Dragon base. Shuts down. Chicho following. Teeny right there with them. And here we go. Falcons maybe a chance to isolate. Randu up top had found one before getting tagged and then eventually dealt with. Lua off spawn. Safely gets the first. And Teeny feels like there's no chance to follow up. He has to back off.
Does back off, but then just turns and burns. And we will see now Falcons have the chance to push up and continue their aggression. Dragons very much on the back foot. iTroll tries to make a rotation on this western side, but he'll be spotted out, and now the pull does happen for Tayson.
Yep, and Falcons have help on the way. Tayson just needs to stay healthy. Randu forced to take the gunfight versus Teeny. That one is won, but there's no follow-up here. Tayson is clear and free. Daylight as he takes this thing back to the house, and now all of a sudden you got to see something from Dragons because flat out they need to get a pull in some way, and they may actually have the counter pull here. Romero's forcing it, but the kills just are not there. Straight eliminations for Falcons as they will secure the second capture.
Great awareness from Tayson there as well, recognizing that Romero was in and around the base, must have got the call from one of his teammates and was just patient. You never know, a grenade come out of nowhere could change your fortunes, as now Falcons with a 2-0 lead. Dragons eSports need to find a different way to approach this game because at the moment Falcons are in control.
Teeny doing a nice job kind of gatekeeping this rotation over towards the bottom side of the Falcon space. Lua still gets the pull. Itro off spawn is going to try to get here to try to bodyguard. Tayson finding damage. Lua has to hit the brakes. It's all down to can he stay alive though. Hits the underground route, but there's no exit from the Falcons. Clean through the middle of the map as Chicho and Teeny will combine for 3.
Maybe one of the downsides of this map being a little bit bigger, one of the things that Dragons found success with on Chalet was they could get that flag, they could get the counter, and then were very quickly back at their own base. There is a lot more time to try and stop that flag runner route and actually be someone to interject and take advantage of your position.
Well, Chicho had a really good look at Randu on his motion, but does give up the mid-map position. Romero trying to battle with him. Good shield bubble down, blocks the shot of the scope. Romero trying to dance, but it's a dance with death that he does not come through with. iTroll, decent follow-up, trying to get the trade onto Chicho, who's just delaying forever as the Falcons are there to help, and that's enough for them to keep numbers advantages as they also see Romero and Lua in the backside of their base.
17 eliminations for Chicho. You compare that on the other side, Romero only with 9 at the moment. Dragons being outslayed quite significantly by Team Falcons, and it is showing with the scoreline. Now, time is suddenly not on Dragon's side. Falcons just need to hold off a couple more pushes here.
Teeny making a play forward. Romero caught between 2 different Falcons members. Lua off spawn, trying to join, and they know exactly where Teeny's located. Steps away from the cluster. Romero able to isolate nicely. And you've even maybe got a chance here for iTroll to do some damage over towards mid. Here's the best look we've had so far for Dragons in terms of controlling mid-map. They need to stop Yapko, though, from shutting down this play by himself.
A capture here, though, would be massive for Dragons if they can even get close to Falcon's base. Yapko is continuing to be on a tear, though. 19 eliminations for him right now.
He's just single-handedly stopped this entire play. Comes out the perfect timing. Tayson, health advantage, wins that 1v1 as well. So the hit immediately stopped. And again, it's just the focus for Yapko mid-map has been undeniable. And you speak of the devil and he shall appear. How about the clean 1v1? Not just onto iTroll, but also onto Romero. Falcons looking like they should close out map 4.
Yeah, with 1 minute and 5 left, it would have to be a pull right here, right now. iTroll does get one on the board, but Falcons are just on defense mode, and they are not allowing it to happen because some of the best forms of defense is offense, all right? And Chicho says, okay, we can pull this flag because as long as it's in our hands, there's no way that they can score.
So much better from the side of Falcons. It just feels like this map, regardless of the mode, just benefits how they choose to play. Their ability to get quickly to one another, help them across the map. Small return does happen here for the side of Dragons. Romero, this is a route. Yapko's the only one in the way here. Can they run a bit of a convoy? That may be an option. Yapko's playing defense. Nice opening shot, and Yapko will single-handedly put this one out of cushion. No one for Dragons currently over towards the Falcons base. iTroll was nearby, but could not collect on what would have to have been a quick capture and quick follow-up, and that would be Team Falcons taking map number 4.
Well, what a series. We're going to a map 5 then between these two teams, and just when you think Falcons might be down and might be out, it's another Panther game to keep them in it. But the worry is we go into Chalet for map number 5, which is where Dragons have looked a little bit more comfortable, but now this is where the pressure starts to kick in, right, Shift? A game 5, all the money on the line, your key on the line before it's potentially crushed here. Your tournament life is now on the line here in map 5.
Dragons are fighting, man, but Yapko on that map. I don't know if there's any better out there. He was hitting everything, it felt like, especially when the moments were super crucial where he needed to step up. His ability to stop rotation single-handedly at mid, his ability to help give assistance to the players that are actually pulling the flag, immense. Him and Chicho both really, really well done to really create the scoring opportunities for Team Falcons. And regardless of it going back to a Chalet, I just feel like Falcons currently are still winning out in the slaying department overall.
Yeah, I think that if they can continue to outslay them that successfully, then this should be relatively one-sided going into Chalet Hardpoint. But again, I mean, from what we saw from Dragons earlier, their strategy is solid. And if they can implement it correctly, and if they can kind of force Falcons into an uncomfortable position, there is still a real chance that Dragons could be taking this one as well.
I think the thing is, you know, for Dragons in the opening Panther hardpoint, they were not winning the pivot points of the map well. That's where we get those 3 to 4 hardpoints strung back to back together for the side of Team Falcons, where that they were just not allowing Dragons to freely exit from certain hills. They were breaking them on initial attempts that they were attacking hardpoints. Chalet is not going to provide maybe the same opportunities, but there is still, I think, a window to where you can create some tunnel control and string a couple of hills back to back. I think if you're Dragons, you need to slow down Yapko, slow down Chicho, and see if you can actually put some tempo into your favor as we head to this map number 5.
I think there needs to be more hand-holding from Dragons because, sure, if you are taking too many 1v1s, it allows there to be those shots from Yapko to really change things for the favor of his team. But if you are pushing aggressively as a 2, it's much more difficult to try and hit back-to-back headshots to stay alive. And I know it sounds simple at its very base, but maybe there was just too many individual attempts here from Dragons.
The case, and that is a look at what's at stake, let alone the thousands of dollars that this match is currently worth. Having the pride of holding onto your key and smashing your opponents could be another element that we've never really seen before in esports. Super cool trophy idea, but that doesn't matter right now. This is about survival and maybe even just establishing some dominance here from one side or the other. Chalet Hardpoint, map number 5. Final moment to stay alive in the tournament for both Dragons eSports and Team Falcons. Let's get it on.
There's going to be Dragons on the red side. No, Falcons on the red side, excuse me. So with the Falcons on the red side, I mean, we'll see how that plays to what we saw in an interview earlier from Alex, where he was very aware that he believed that red side was better when it comes to Hardpoint, regardless of the map. We'll have to see if Dragons can go against that wind.
I just don't know how much that's really going to play a factor on this map.
Yeah, it's less so.
Yeah, because you've got 3 and 4 on the top side by Dragons that are the 2 that are kind of right back to one another, but the hard point is so deep inside the tunnel that it almost doesn't really give much favor to the team spawning closest to it because it's still a choke point no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I think it's more so on Panther, but you know, he was still saying, has anyone won it on any map at that point? I think he was digging deep, but we're gonna get a remake of the lobby between these two teams, but certainly that adds to the nerves, right? The longer you have to wait, suddenly more of those thoughts start to creep into the back of your mind.
Be the case. And I think on top of this, you know, the conversation we're having at large, there's something to be said about the fact that you've got some young competitors that have maybe not seen a live in-person stage with a dedicated audience towards it, maybe ever, let alone a handful of times to kind of use it as a non-factor, right? I mean, in other established esports where you've got major after major after major, sure, you've got the FNCS for these guys, but this is a totally different ballgame. Like, actually, by definition, they're playing modes that they've never really played before, at least not to the same kind of history that the BR has been around with. And now all of a sudden, you add in the element of $1 million total prize pool with one map in between you and a possible farewell flight.
And that's crazy, right? You've already mentioned the difference and the drop-off of prize money from those kind of top few places down to what would be, top 12 if you were to be eliminated here, because you would technically be third within your group. It's nervy times for a lot of these guys, and it's about just having someone who can put a brave face on and be saying, look, there's nothing to worry about. I'm confident in our performance. I think we can go on to win this one, and you just need a leader in this time. And sometimes that can be the coach to step up in those moments.
How much, I guess the question I'm trying to get to here, who do you have your eye on to be the person from either's team to step up and be the difference maker?
Has to be Yapko, right?
Yapko.
What Yapko has just done, and what he didn't do on Chalet CTF, right, wasn't able to kind of pop off in the same way with the sniper rifle. Now going to Chalet Hardpoint, will there be more opportunity for him to pop off? Because it's not going to be as much of a game about lanes, and instead there's going to be a lot more movement, which means he might be able to take more angles and catch players off guard.
I'm going to go with the player to watch for me. It's going to be Teeny. 15 years old, map 5, elimination on the line. He's stayed cool so far, but can he step up? Because on the other side of things, we've obviously seen the sniper battle between Yapko and Romero, but Lua and Itral have been great for Dragons, and I'm looking at both really Tayson and Teeny both to see who can step up for Falcons to kind of bring that same power. And I think when I compare those two, I want to see the young superstar in Teeny, one of the only players on controller, by the way, see how he pops off and how he can handle the pressure of a map 5 situation.
Well, what we can promise you is this is going to be a game of all games, right? This is the first time we'll go into a map 5 for the chance to send yourself in to the top 8 so far that we've seen today. Now, Dragons are going to be spawning on that blue side, so they're going to have the initial push down into the tunnel if they would like to take it, which does give you that covered route down into the middle of the map towards Pool. For Falcons, they should be able to get to Pool first here.
Yep, agreed. But the utility usage from Dragons has been great. I think that's kind of what I've been most impressed by in terms of how they focus their fire towards one direction or the other. Itral, Romero already tossing nades towards the choke points, and it's focused down the mid street here for Dragons. As like you mentioned, Falcons will be able to get over towards the pool first, but are they able to hold? That's the big question as Chicho jumps to the hill.
Bubbles go down just to try and defend yourself, but now you can see the push that is going to happen from Dragons. No elimination as of yet. That's a great grenade, by the way. A lot of damage done to Dragons.
Itral will fall. Romero, no chance to get the regen out. And Teeny is just holding this middle lane. The only thing he's responsible for is making sure no one hits that pinch, and now Tayson has pushed forward. What a start for Team Falcons. This has been legitimately perfect.
Now Dragons, all 4 of them going to be pushing from one side. One grenade could change everything, but the bubble goes down, EMP follows.
And it's a lot of shield damage dealt by that EMP. Opening exchange is decent. Itral able to still stay alive with Randu, but here it is. It's just down to Teeny, last one left, and he wins the final 1v1 to jump into the point. Really well done. And again, 45 points plus in P1, a hard point that we consider to be a 50-50. Falcons off to the races early, but Dragons will get some of the scrap.
Maybe slightly favors Falcons because they have the speed to get there, but of course, if you are the first team within that hill, you are far more vulnerable to grenades, as Falcons also quickest to hill number 2, and they have a 52-6 lead. Seems like a good time to jump into a listening with Team Falcons.
He's Lambo. It's EMP. Don't
Just wait, just hold.
Yeah.
One side, you behind you, Chicho.
Check to white. 9 to white. Inside
90
house.
weight on Lambo, 90 weight on
Be
Lambo.
careful. I'm dead. He's dead. Nice. Nice, I'm alive.
90 weight on pillar.
Just wait,
Okay,
just
Let
wait.
me, I'm gonna dynamite
Dead
them.
pillar. One more Lambo or front house.
Dead. One more pillar.
70 crack pillar, 70 crack pillar.
Keep holding it.
Dead. I killed him.
Dead. SMG.
One
No
truck,
bubble,
one
Dave,
truck,
no
one
bubble,
truck,
Dave, no bubble, no bubble.
Yeah, I see. He's shooting me in my feet, I'm 1 HP.
70.
That's fine.
Bro, my screen is shaking. Yeah, watch check, he's on top.
No.
Lambo, sniper.
Right.
Sniper on Lambo.
AMP.
6 to white, dead.
Nice.
Nice. Just go push them now.
I need to die.
Yeah.
Can someone stay?
Okay, I can stay.
They, I think they're next already.
Yeah.
Two spam pool.
On me, Matt.
Okay.
6 to white.
110.
One second.
No, don't, they have no bubble.
Nice.
Round. One Smith and 1 point. Only 1 point.
Okay.
Going right.
Turn it.
Can you, they bubble? You have bubble or
I
no?
don't have EMP.
No. Okay. I'm dead.
One window as well. Let me
window.
dynamite. Oh,
Dead.
Okay, all good.
yeah, I'm dead.
Keeping
It's
window.
okay.
It's fine, I have EMP now.
70 on SMG. 70 on SMG.
It's an absolutely brilliant hold of the second hill, but as we rotate over to 3, you kind of heard the call. A couple of Dragons members spawn over towards Pool. They also have the crossing angle from their top windows, and that's been enough to keep Dragons safe in the hard point.
This is a better hold for Dragons in a hill that they should have success with. The Falcons now looking to get aggressive, but Chicho falls as well. Dragons continuing their dominance, but now Teeny looks to try and even things up here. But it is still a solid chunk of time in favor of Dragons.
And you can see what Falcons are trying to do here in the back half of this hill. It's not just trying to flood from the front and find success. They're trying to put a little bit of extra pressure on this house, so that way the rotation over towards New is a little bit easier for them. Problem has been, it hasn't been easy at all. Dragons have done very well through the third hill, and they have numbers to try to flush Tayson out of the new hill.
Tayson won a massive individual fight over towards Tunnel to get the initial time on the board and give his team a little bit of leeway to get over to Tunnel as well. You can see Yapko is there waiting, but Romero is scoring right now. But you can see Yapko being patient because he knows full well there is more than just one member of Dragons over there.
And for Falcons, they're trying to hit a little bit of a pinch here with Chicho. Yapko trying to pull the focus to the front. Tayson also assisting. Romero not able to connect with the sniper's got to go to the pistol, and he gets completely obliterated. So Falcons, a little cut hit comes through. They find 3. Dragons still spawning close, so immediately trying to set up for a rebreak.
2 members of Falcons on this car just holding hands and hoping to stay alive. Well, Yapko continues to pop off and continues to be a difference maker here for Falcons.
And now all of a sudden, it's on the onus for Dragons. You can't just flood this from the front. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to this tunnel, because the new hard point will be on the other side. Falcons going to have the easy rotation. Yapko the first one here. Dragons trying to work through mid-map, but the fights happening right now over the old hill are really not significant one way or the other, and those even battles favor Falcons completely.
And if iTroll goes down here, who's the furthest northern player, it will just open things up for the spawners from Falcons to take control of the map once more as Yapko holds on to this hill and is just waiting for someone to walk into his crosshair.
Yeah, he's waiting for someone to start tapping at his toes. Like, you got to pay extra if you want to see those buttes. He's able to get the sniper up, find a couple of headshots, and now all of a sudden you've got Tayson zoning out the tunnel. Nice shots though from iTroll. He kind of slips through here, has to back up to deal with Tayson, and that will work out. Now a chance for Randu to work with them as Yapko's the last one standing, but that might be all you need. Teeny off spawn is also here. Last 1v1 with Randu, and he will drop. Falcons looking good to get close to the 200-point mark.
Falcons are doing so well to hold these hills. When it's a last-ditch attempt from someone to remain in that hill, they are always finding one elimination, if not 2, to keep Dragons at their back. And now they're going to have a very significant lead here as this hill is about to shift.
You have to find 40 seconds here if you're Dragons. Have to find clean eliminations. Have to find a good buffer of the hard point itself. This is helpful. Randu, Lua also finding a couple of key eliminations as this looks like a good time for Dragons to get over the 100-point threshold.
Been very impressed with Randu and what he's been able to put on, but is it going to be just too little too late with some of these eliminations? And now Falcons, they swoop in yet again, and all 4 members will be alive. iTroll desperately tries to stay alive, but again, it is just Falcons at their very best with the bait and switch.
I mean, when they play that 4-man flood, when there's only 2 players for Dragons left alive, they're winning out so convincingly, but put a pause in that statement as Lua starts to tee off just a touch. Him and iTroll combined for a 3v2 situation. And now we start to look at the rotation once again. Back over towards Jeep. iTroll try to get some window control, but Yapko beats him there.
And the thing is, with a lead like this, Falcons can afford to just give away this time for Dragons and start to move towards this next hard point.
Oh, but watch this long flank. Randu finds himself kind of in between a couple of Falcons members, but you see the health pool completely diminish. Now it has to be a hit from the front. iTroll working on the window play. Lua try to get up towards Truck. Teeny watching the right side. The rest of his teammates trusted to watch the middle. Here comes the hit. Dragons finding the first couple eliminations. Can they get Teeny out of the hill? And yes, they can. Lua! Clean shots come through, and it's a break from Dragons.
Well, they needed someone to step up because Falcons could have won it in this hill. Yapko, though, still alive within the Chalet, and now Dragons are vulnerable. You can see the grenades are coming through, and all it takes here really is one big push, and it is still doable in this final hill.
Yeah, you're going to have Randu in position to try to assist here, but they cannot get into the right positions to take care of the Falcons' reinforcements. 15 seconds still left. Not, I don't believe, enough time for them to get the final tick. It'll be close. I mean, Dragons, they would have to be math warriors if they want to make this commitment, and Aitra will come through. There's the contest. We will likely see another hill, but there's no one there now because Dragons had to play for old time.
Dragons were quick to move back over towards P3, though, but now it has to be perfect from Dragons if they want to survive in this game.
Romero, Lua, holding from inside the hill. Not a lot of zone of separation as Teeny plays off a bit of a flank. Tayson from the front has the pitch set up. Romero, nice shot on the way in, and Lua able to take care of the damage. Last one left is Yapko, and as Lua finds the elimination, the Dragons will stay alive.
Dragons did well in this hill before, and it is great. They can catch up. They got like 40, 50 points last time, but Falcons are just so close. They can already just think about contesting slightly and then thinking about P4 in the rotation.
This is still doable, but here come the Falcons with 3 members in. Lua has to go God mode. He needs to step on in. It's not going to happen. Team Falcons take map number 5, 250 to 170, and make their way out of Group A into the playoffs.
Falcons were looking like they might have been down, might have been out when they were 2-1 down in this series, but they bring it back to win 3-2 and send themselves into the quarterfinals, into those playoffs and into the top 8. As for Dragons, sadly, that will be the end of their tournament. That will be the key being crushed. And not just key, but dreams crushed as well.
I think if you're Dragons and if you're a Latin American fan, especially an Argentinian, you have to be very proud of the run that they put together. I mean, we were talking